So you're a self-taught developer, or you went to a boot camp, but now you're stuck and you don't know how to get your dream job. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I would do in 2024 to land my dream job, showing you all of the mistakes I've made over the last 10 years of my career so you don't have to. Now, there's going to be a lot of content in this video, but don't be overwhelmed. I'm going to break this down into 3 main steps. We're going to break down what I do for work and what software developers do for work, how to learn those skills and what skills are important, and then how to fill your knowledge gap between where you are and where you want to go. So let's get the woo-woo shit out of the way. Everyone talks about mindset, Tony Robbins, everyone, but it's so important. And it's going to be important no matter what you do in your life. If you want to change your career, if you want to learn a new skill. This is going to be hard, or is already hard, and that's okay. But we need to understand that this is a long process. And just if you want to do this, it's a skill that you develop, show up every day, get better at the skills that are going to move you towards your job, improve those, and get your dream job. It's pretty simple, right? But we need to use data points that the universe is giving us to adjust so that we can then succeed. For example, I did a video that I'll link below on resumes. If you've applied to 1,000 companies and no one's gotten back to you, that's obviously a waste of your time and not going to get you where you want to go. So no, this is a long process. It's going to take you a long time to get to your dream job, and that's okay. But these are the steps that I would take and I wish I took to land my dream job as a self-taught developer or someone without a computer science degree. You can go far alone, but I really recommend having a mentor. That's someone that's just maybe like a couple years ahead of you, or someone that's worked at the company you want to work at. That person is going to fast track your way to your dream job. And they're going to help you. Like, I have this channel to help you avoid all the mistakes I did. And to educate you and give you free content. So that, because it is hard to find a mentor, and I struggled to find the right mentor, and I wish I had something like this, so I'm making it for you. But having a mentor to get you to where you want to go is important. You can find them in open source communities. You can find them in your own community. If you don't have a lot of developers in your community, they're online. I promise you, you'll get there and you'll find them, but it takes work. Contributing to open source projects, and we'll talk about open source in another section. It's something I talk about in every video. Contributing to open source, getting PR reviews and reviews by better engineers than you are on GitLab, on big open source projects, is crucial to your development. Finding someone in the career that you could contact to be a mentor. You can go on LinkedIn and pull software engineers at almost any company. Feel free to message them and say, hey, I have a couple questions. If you did that to me on LinkedIn, I would answer your questions. Will everyone? No, probably not. But it's a start in the step in the right direction to getting you to where you are. Without a mentor, you're going to double or triple the amount of time it takes to get to your dream job. So what's another tool you'll use? Is a code editor or text editor. No one cares which one you use. Vim, Emacs, Visual Studio Code, Sublime, whatever. But just, you'll be able to use that no matter what job you use. Just pick one and master it and just be really good at it. The next tool that I don't necessarily think is one that you can master, but one that I think will accelerate your development is implementing a linter in your domain. So if you're writing in JavaScript or frontend, there's ESLint. In backend, there's Ruby and Rubocop. Think of it as a junior developer, that this is kind of like an automated mentor, catching your blatant code mistakes. Any job kind of worth their salt will have a linting process implemented and set up and have guidelines. The easiest one that I can come off the top of my head with is Airbnb style guides for ESLint. It's just out of the box. It gives you such good mentorship and things to think about as it relates to the code you write without needing a mentor right away. It's something I still use in my code today, and contributing to ESLint was one of the things that improved my code quality tenfold. This is something I tell a lot of junior developers when they're first starting out, and even it's true later on in your career, is mastering a domain. And this is something I didn't do early on. I was applying to full stack roles, front end roles, back end roles, database roles, and I wouldn't ever do well in the interview. And that's because there's just too much knowledge and the interviews were too inconsistent. So pick a domain when looking for your dream job. So let's say you have some full stack experience, but you love front end, or you just know you want to do front end, or whatever. You've seen my videos and you're like, I want to do front end. Okay, cool. So all the skills you're going to sharpen are just going to be in the front end realm. Accessibility, performance JavaScript, functional programming, all that stuff. So that when you go apply for a job, you have the skills and the interviews are the same over and over again. And you can learn from each one. So if you get 3 on-sites a month, it's just a matter of time because you've seen the problems before, or you understand the environment that you need to perform in, and you've mastered the domain and the questions, and you can maybe teach them something because you're such an expert. And that's honestly something I'm doing in my career now. I'm trying to dive deeper into front end. I'm trying to get more into accessibility, into performance, into stuff like that. Localization, internationalization, how those things work in a performant front end code base. Now, you don't have to pick front end if you want to be a backend developer, full stack, database engineer, etc. But just pick a domain and stick with it. You'll have way more success way earlier on than I did to get your dream job. All right, we're going to get back to some woo-woo shit. So, play. What does that mean? Play in your console. If you like look on MDN's docs for JavaScript and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know you could do that with an object. Like, let me see how this works. Just like constantly be touching code and playing and learning and pushing yourself. I think when we're trying to achieve a goal, there's an outcome, and all I'm going to try and do is like do the thing to get the outcome. But we need to deconstruct those into habits that build over time. So if you see a new piece of code that you don't know how it works, really like dive into it and like deconstruct it and play with it. Why did they do that? Can I do this better? Like really go as deep as you can. Touching that every day and going to that level of depth will make you in the top 1% of developers in a very short period of time, where a lot of people don't care and they just accept the status quo, and they're not growing and challenging themselves. Testing. A lot of junior developers I talk to have never written a unit test in their life, and they don't know why they need to learn that. Which is not anyone's fault. It's just a disservice to the online engineering community and boot camps. So enough of that. But why testing is important and why you need to know it to 10x your career. A lot of interviews that I've gone on in the later stages or early on in my career would make me do test-driven development for a feature, or I'd have to write code to make test pass. So testing, there's a testing pyramid, and testing is broken down into 3 major parts: unit, integration, and end-to-end. Unit is essentially testing a unit of functionality that you've abstracted. For example, I have a function that adds 2 numbers together. I'm going to make sure that it does that using Jest in React Testing Library or Enzyme in front end. Then we have integration. That's like how the components work together. Maybe I have a modal that you fill out a form and click submit. I want to make sure that that path works without hitting a server. And then we have end-to-end, where it's literally standing up an entire infrastructure suite. You're like maybe a mock server or a real server, your front end, and then we test like when a user signs in, then they can see their username in the header, right? That's like we have front end, back end, and back. So it's a round trip end to end. In open source projects, on big projects, no one will let you make a contribution without learning how to test. The only way to get better at testing is to test more and have senior engineers review your code. But the one I would master and start with is unit testing. So there are a bunch of different philosophies on the internet, but you can find tons of resources, and I'll link some below, on just unit testing for whether you're doing backend, front end, anything. This is going to be another thing that you can layer on that will separate you from all front end or all junior engineers entering the field or trying to get their dream job. In an interview, I'm going to ask you, tell me your testing approach and how you test. That is an automatic disqualifier in my book if you've never written a test before, because I don't know if I have the time to teach you why testing is important. I just assume that you know that knowledge. Again, I'm laying out the skills and how to stack them so that getting your dream job takes work, but we've eliminated all doubt and is almost effortless. I'm going to take a short break to ask you a favor. I make these videos for you, and I've been fortunate enough to have mentors and have had the resources to get my dream jobs and succeed in this career of computer science and software development, in my eyes at least. And I make these videos for you and you only. If you don't have a mentor and you're out there, I want you to use this channel as a sounding board and to get you to where you want to go. The only way I can keep doing that is if you give me feedback on what you need, liking or not liking, and subscribing and sharing it with your friends. So if you liked this video and you're getting value from my channel, please share it with your friends. Tell them to like and subscribe so that I know what I'm doing is helping you get to where you want to go. Thank you so much. So now we're going to talk about another skill. Isn't this fun? Of code reviewing and having your code reviewed. And it's something, again, you just need with experience. A lot of questions I've seen in job interviews is like, tell me how you review a pull request or a merge request. And then tell me how you take feedback on those things. And like when to make another ticket or when to finish it in that pull request, or something like, when would you tell someone to break something down even more? These are all best practices you learn over time. And the fastest way to bridge that knowledge gap is to contribute to open source. GitLab, just go to GitLab. Every video has GitLab contribution guidelines in it. So go down there, contribute to GitLab. And you'll not only learn the skills I just talked about, right? Mastering your command line, mastering Git, mastering GitLab and Git branching process, unit testing, integration testing, end-to-end testing. All of those are required on most, if not all, pull requests that don't relate to documentation. So now it's getting your code reviewed and reviewing other people's code. As a junior developer, it's just going to be a numbers game on how many PRs or pull requests that you can get reviewed by more senior engineers as fast as possible. So if you're a junior engineer in an internship with no mentorship, which I've been there, not a red flag, but get out of there. But if you need the money, cool, stay. And let's optimize for how many PRs you get reviewed in open source per week. So let's say I need 1 to 3 PRs reviewed by senior engineers in open source per week. You'll have 50 to 160 PRs reviewed in a year. You are going to be a reviewer master. And all it is a numbers game. And yes, it takes work. But these are the things that you need to do to be in the top 1% to get your dream job as a self-taught developer. And that's okay. But I'm just breaking down the simple tasks that you can do to get there and to accelerate it. This is also a way to get more experience without experience than you know what to do with. There are thousands of GitLab issues, open source issues, waiting for people like you to contribute back to the community that we benefit from so much. Okay, we're almost done. So you've built all the skills, you're doing all the things. How do you get the dream job? Well, it starts with interviews, right? And putting yourself out there. So 3 major steps, right? Getting the first interview, then there's a technical component, and then the on-site. And we want to know where we're at in this process. Are we not getting calls back from an interview? Do we need to write more cold emails? Do we get past the recruiter and don't get the technical because of whatever reason? Or do we get past those two and we're just not getting the offer at the on-site? So we have to reflect, like, if you're not getting interviews, like, yeah, studying algorithms is all fine and fun, but like, why are you spending so much time on algorithms if you can't get an interview? That's the thing that's blocking you. You have to master each one and know where you're getting stuck. I'm going to make more videos on how to ace the interview. But in those 3 basic steps, identify on a piece of paper, where am I at? What am I doing that's working or not working? And where am I getting stuck? Alex Hormozi has like the constraint theory where it's like, I optimize for the constraint and I unblock myself. So are you not getting calls back? Why not? How do we unblock you? Are you not passing the technical? Why not? Is it an algorithm issue or is it a domain knowledge issue? Let's unblock you. That's how you move through the interview process to get the job that you want. A couple of tips though on acing your interview. Algorithms, I'll link it below. Really recommend Interview Cake. They teach you how to think through the problem. I'm not a huge fan of Leak Code. A lot of people love it, just not my style. But another tip is learning how to tell your story. Why do you want to become a software developer? Are you fresh out of college? Why does this draw to you? Why do you like the company? Really learning how to tell your story, and the only way you do it is by telling your story to people. If I meet you on the street and you used to be an accountant and you want to be a software developer, it's like, okay, well, why? Like, tell me your story. Oh, I was an accountant and I learned how to automate my entire process of doing X, Y, and Z in Excel, and I enjoyed it more than I did accounting, and I contributed to open source, and this is really what I want to do. That's a totally valid answer, as opposed to, it just, tech is trendy, it's cool, I saw a YouTube video, right? Like, learn how to tell your story, no matter what the environment is. One thing that, another thing that people don't talk enough about, you're competing with so many different people. We buy into brands, we buy into people. You are a brand, you are a person that the company and the interviewer wants to buy into. And you do that by telling your story. Last part of this video is your resume. I'm not going to go into it because I did like a 20-minute video that I'm going to link below or in this video somewhere on how to write a resume that will get you your dream job and what are the things that are important with that. So now you have all of the skills you need to go from a self-taught developer with no computer science degree, maybe a boot camp and some informal training to get your dream job. So take these skills, ask me questions in the comments, let me know how I can help you, but this is step by step how I would go back in the past with everything I know for 2024 if I wanted to land my dream job as a self-taught developer. So get out there, get internships, get code reviews, contribute to open source, learn how to unit test, read, play in the console, do all the things that we talked about. And I promise you will be in the top 1% in no time.